Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Nelson, here on this Tuesday afternoon. And today is opening night. Today is the day that the NBA season is going to start. I'm very excited for this season. I know it doesn't sound like I'm very excited, but I'm just incredibly tired as well. So, excuse me for that. And we're going to go right ahead and get into this segment. So, again, since today is opening night, we're obviously going to focus on the games happening opening night. And we're going to look at the betting odds, and in particular the betting odds between the Timberwolves against the Lakers, and which team has the best chance of... which team, according to the odds, has the best chance of winning this game. And then in the second segment, we are going to be talking about some bold predictions for this season. Now, these aren't, not all of them are my predictions, but, you know, there are a couple of bold predictions that I do have on there. And there are other ones that I would like to share and get all of your thoughts on as well. And then in the third segment, we're going to look at the finals odds. So the teams and which teams have the best chance of making the finals, and who would end up winning in that finals. Now, according to certain sites that I have listed right over here. So that's what we're going to do in the third segment. Then in the fourth segment, I saw an article saying that Bronny is according to some bettors, is a potential dark horse in winning Rookie of the Year, which I don't really see that happening. But again, we're just going to go ahead and talk about that in the fourth segment and give my thoughts. Now, we also have a special fifth segment at the end of the fourth segment, so be sure to stay tuned for that if you guys are interested. And before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody that we love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether you guys have a hot take, whether you guys have a burning question, or if you just have anything that you're dying to share, we're all ears. And if you really want your comment or question to get noticed, then I recommend using Super Chat. You just click on the $sign below the chat box, and you can send in your comments and or donations that way. They both really help the show. And if Super Chat's not really your thing, that's okay. You can always use the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment, gsmcpodcast.net, and you can send in your comments and or donations that way. But let's go right ahead and get into the betting odds for tonight's game. And like I said before, we're going to focus on the Lakers matchup against the Timberwolves because obviously I feel like that's going to be the matchup that a lot of people are going to want to see. LeBron James, I mean, obviously everybody wants to see LeBron. And I'm not saying that the Boston Celtics matchup against the Knicks isn't going to have people watching, but still, I feel like in the end, the Lakers are going to get much more attention in their opening night as opposed to whatever the result of the Knicks and the Celtics game is. Excuse me. So, obviously, the Timberwolves, they're going to play against LA in this opening game. No, I don't have Anthony Edwards. That's unfortunate. Now, Minnesota, they made it far into the postseason last year, I'm sure as all of you guys know, but they couldn't get past that final mountain, which was Luka Doncic, and make it all the way to the finals. Now, the Timberwolves, they finished third in the Northwest Division and in the Western Conference, and they were 26-15 on the road last season. Now, the Lakers, they were 7th in the West, and they were also 3rd, but in the Pacific Division, and they were 28-14 on their home court. So, the Lakers have also ruled out Jared Vanderbilt with a foot injury, Christian Wood with a knee injury, and Christian Koloko, who is under some reconditioning. Now, Minnesota is going to begin their year with a clean injury report, and that's sort of important to understand because it's like, while the Lakers could potentially end up getting a little bit better as the season progresses when they acquire Christian Wood, Jared Vanderbilt. I'm not saying that Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood are obvious and clear-cut game changers, but depending on how they play on every given night, then they could be. But again, those players tend to be a little bit more inconsistent than you would like. And But with Minnesota, they already have everybody healthy. So wherever they're at is probably where they're going to stay at, assuming Anthony Edwards doesn't just go off for like 32 points or averages 32 points in the season. Like, that's not to mention Julius Randle, who I think is more or less more or less like a lesser version than Karl Anthony Towns, honestly. Like, the trade between those two teams was rather confusing, especially on the Timberwolves side, because again, like Karl Anthony Towns, he's been there since the beginning, and yeah, it's really just like a little bit of an odd trade. Now, let's go ahead and look at the betting odds that we have now. So, the over and under for total points scored is 220.5 points, and down 4 points from the opener. And before making any Timberwolves and Lakers picks, you'd probably want to see some predictions from the computer model from Sportsline. So the Sportsline projection model simulates that every NBA game 10,000 times, and has returned well over $10,000 in betting profit for $100 players on its top-rated NBA picks over the past 6 seasons. And the model ended in the 2023-2024 season on a 94-61 roll on all top-rated NBA picks, returning more than $2,800 in the process. Now, anybody that follows sports books and on betting apps, they see huge returns most of the time. So the model has set its sights on the Timberwolves versus the Lakers. And here are the results and the betting lines. So Timberwolves versus Lakers and their spread. So Minnesota's expected to win by about over 2 points. They are a minus 1.5 favorite. So they expect the game to be close. Now, the Timberwolves versus the Lakers over and under is going to be 220.5 points, The money line for the Timberwolves versus the Lakers, Minnesota is expected to have a minus 115 chance of winning the game. And then the Lakers, they're expected to have a minus 104 chance of winning the game. Now, Timberwolves have also won 32 of their last 47 away games. So that's 17 plus units on their money line. And the Lakers have won 25 of their last 39 games, which is resulting to 20 plus units on the money line. Timberwolves versus Lakers picks. Let me just go ahead and open up the app real quick just to see exactly where the odds are and what the model exactly picks. Let me just go ahead. So, according to the model, they project that the Timberwolves are going to end up winning this game, and that the spread hit on nearly 60% of its simulations. So that's a little thing. That's a thing that you guys should know. And 60% on the simulations, according to the app, the Sportsline app, the game is going to cover the spread. So if you guys want to bet on the spread, then you should take that into account. Now, going over why the Timberwolves can cover, helping lead the offense is a shooting guard named Anthony Edwards, obviously. And he's averaged 25 points per game in 79 games, including 78 starts. And he also averaged 5 rebounds along with 5 assists as well. And not only that, they also expect Julius Randle is going to be a pretty significant impact for the team in this opening game. And that's why they feel like the Timberwolves are going to end up covering the spread. But a reason why the Lakers could cover the spread is because LeBron James. That's really the big reason. LeBron and Anthony Davis, the two players that are most likely going to help cover that spread. Now, how to make these picks, what you should be thinking of. So just visit Sportsline now, and you could see which side of the Lakers-Timberwolves spread you need to jump on, all from the model that was on a 94-61 roll on top-rated NBA picks in the last season. But again, they predicted that the Timberwolves are going to end up covering the spread. And I wouldn't really be surprised at that. While I don't think the Timberwolves improved their roster, I also know that the Lakers did not improve their roster at all. Like, the Timberwolves, they may have gotten a little bit worse, but I don't think it's still enough to beat the I don't think it's enough. Excuse me, I messed that up. So they improved on their roster. Like, they did not improve on their roster. Excuse me, but in the end, I still think the roster that they have is enough to win in this game against the Lakers. And in between the Knicks and the Celtics, I think the Celtics are easy favorites, especially since they're playing at home. And really, the big thing, like, the one thing that I know is going to be, I wouldn't bet on this game just because I have no idea exactly what would happen, but it's been ruled that the 76ers, right, they are not going to play Paul George or Joel Embiid in opening night, and they match up against the Bucks. This game's not happening today, this game's happening tomorrow. So the fact that 76ers, they aren't starting their two best players, I don't feel confident in picking the 76ers to win, despite the fact that they're playing at home. And, I mean, Tyrese Maxey is still going to be available in this game, but again, like, that's really going to be that's going to be a close one. But that's just food for thought for any of you guys who are interested in the other games that are opening night. I don't have time to go over every single one of those games, but again, like, all of these, the specific one that I wanted to bring up was the Bucks going up against the 76ers. So we are out of time for this first segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the second segment where I talk about some bold predictions for this season. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the second segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this second segment, we are going to be talking about some bold predictions for this NBA season. So let me just go ahead and get the list pulled up right now. Before I begin, I'd like to remind everybody that we love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether you guys have a hot take, whether you guys have a burning question, whether you guys have something that you've been dying to share, we are all ears. And if you really want your comment or question to get noticed, then I recommend using Super Chat. So just click on the $sign below the chat box and you can send in your comments and or donations that way. They really help the show. And if Super Chat's not really your thing, then you could always use the link displayed below the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net, and you could send in your comments that way. Really helps the show. Makes it much more interactive between myself and you guys. So let's go ahead and get into these predictions. Now, again, like I said, some of these predictions are mine. Some of these predictions are not mine. And I'm just going to go ahead and talk about every single one of them. I'll tell you which ones are mine. So, first one. Now, this one they're going to all be bold takes. So, like, you don't necessarily have to agree with them, but I'll give my reasoning for why they make sense. Now, the Knicks are going to win the championship. Yes. That is the first bold take that we've got. So, anonymous GMs, bettors, and analysts have already expected that the Celtics are going to end up going back-to-back and repeat as champions. And that title deserves respect. Yes, they definitely are a very solid team. And the possibility of them repeating, it could happen. Like, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. However, I will say that the NBA has not had a repeat champion since the 2018 Golden State Warriors. So, with that being said, I don't expect the Celtics, like, the odds of the Celtics being able to do this and repeat are, like, they're high, because bettors are just being, I think bettors are honestly just lazy and expecting the Celtics to do it again. But given the fact that the last repeat was the Golden State Warriors, when they had Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, a team that was just too good to fail, I don't really think the Celtics should be clear-cut favorites, or as clear-cut as a lot of people are making them out to be. Like, yes, they definitely deserve to be the favorites when you're talking about NBA championship team, but clear-cut, it shouldn't really be all that clear-cut. I think that the Knicks, given the additions to their roster, and given the change in their roster, and OG Anunoby being a defensive talent, along with the rest of the talented players that the team has, I could see them repeating. Now, the only two bugaboos that I really have for the Knicks, actually 3 bugaboos that I have for the Knicks, are Mikal Bridges' jump shot, Karl Anthony Towns in the postseason, and the fact that they're the Knicks. So I'll break all 3 of those down. Mikal Bridges, as you know, he changed his jump shot, and it looks hideous. There's no other way to put it other than it looks hideous. He has some sort of hitch to his jump shot now, and it's nowhere near as smooth as what it was in Brooklyn. And there are thoughts saying that Mikal Bridges, like, he did this essentially to compensate for the fact that he has a much longer wingspan, and he grew a couple inches. And that I understand. But still, it's like I don't know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's looking really broke right now. And next, Karl Anthony Towns. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is probably one of the worst playoff performers I've ever seen in the NBA, especially currently now. Aside from James Harden, Karl Anthony Towns, is just bad in the postseason. There are times where he completely disappears. There are times where he's just not a factor in the postseason. I don't know what it is, but it's like he's just not that good. And in the postseason, so he could be a huge detriment to the team, especially considering how he provides not much on the defensive end of the ball. So we'll see how that goes. And then finally, they're the Knicks. I don't really think I have to explain much when I say they're the Knicks. Like, nobody really has faith in this team, and they usually expect the Knicks to end up blowing it in the end because that's just what they are. That's just the Knicks, and that's the notion that a lot of people go into it, and it is very real. They're incredibly unlucky, and it's just they find innovative ways to lose in big-time moments, and it's really just... It's not it. Like, it's just a very difficult, it's just a bad situation. It's a difficult situation, or it's almost like a curse. It's like the Clippers curse, if I have to compare it to anything. But aside from the Clippers, I mean, they're actually going to make the postseason this year. Now, next bold prediction we have, Nikola Jokic is going to win his 4th MVP. So he's going to win back-to-back twice now. And the reason why I think that this is bold is because voter fatigue is a thing. And a lot of people, they probably, at least from what I've seen now, they have SGA as the potential favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Not Rookie of the Year, MVP, excuse me. But I don't think SGA, while he is fantastic on offense, right? And he is a solid defender at the guard, I don't think his offensive value is as impactful as Nikola Jokic's offensive value for the Denver Nuggets. Again, let me know in the comments if you guys disagree. And other people, they might have Luka Doncic as a favorite. And Luka Doncic, he's always an MVP favorite at the start of the season. But then once the season starts, he slowly regresses down into like third or second or fourth in MVP voting. So I'm not entirely sure about that. Now obviously the Serbian, he's the only 3-time MVP who has never played next to an active All-Star or All-NBA player. So let that sink in. Most of the MVPs play with, and they have a very solid team. And they usually, because, being an MVP, you have to be the top seeded team. And, the best player on the best team tends to win the MVP. And the fact that Jokic has won it 3 times and has done it without an all-star on the team or an all-NBA player on the team means that his offense alone impacts the team and turns them into a winning team. Obviously, without Jokic, the team would be nothing. Now, you guys can make the argument that Jamal Murray is rather underrated, but in the regular season, it's not like he deserves to be that much of an all-star. I will say, there are other guards that play better in the regular season than he does. It's just, in the postseason, primarily against the Lakers, he just turns into Michael Jordan, but, only it's Michael Jordan on drugs or something like that. It's ridiculous, on steroids. It's incredible just how he plays in the postseason against the Lakers. And he's just not that kind of caliber player in the regular season. So the fact that Jokic has been able to win the MVP without having all NBA talent on the roster, it's very, very impressive. And I really think that he has the best chances of winning the MVP for this season. Now, the next bold prediction that I have is that, hold on just one second, that a guard is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Now, what on earth was that? Hold on just one second. I just got... and let me go ahead and continue anyway. So, obviously, the Defensive Player of the Year, most of the time, is going to be somebody like a center, right? And it's usually a center. But in 2022, Marcus Smart ended up becoming the first guard to win Defensive Player of the Year since Gary Payton, and in 1996. But despite all of this, I do think that there is a good chance that a guard could win Defensive Player of the Year if it's not going to be Victor Wembanyama. Now, the 3 top picks, according to these sites, Jalen Suggs, Derek White, and Alex Caruso, they all made all defensive teams last year, and they all, if it was a guard, they all have the best chances of winning the Defensive Player of the Year with that. Now, the next bold take that I have, and hold on, let me just try and find him 1 second. Where's Victor? Oh, Victor's not here. That's unfortunate. That's not Victor. But anyways, the next bold take that I have is that Victor Wembanyama the hype train is going to get better. Now, this, I got a bold take that says the hype train is going to slow down, but I don't see that slowing down at all. I think Victor is going to end up being better this season. He's going to average more points. He's going to average more rebounds. I'm not sure about the assists because, Chris Paul is going to be the one taking those assists. But I do think he's going to end up averaging more blocks, maybe slightly more blocks. And still, he's going to lead the league in blocks easily by a wide margin. And it's I do understand that the NBA media is it's going to overhype a bunch of the new talent that just got in the league. And maybe they're going to try and move on from Victor as being their poster boy. I remember when House of Highlights, when LaMelo Ball got drafted, it was only LaMelo Ball highlights. It was like, there was a joke running around saying House of LaMelo Ball. And Manzano's in the chat saying, I have friends who are hardcore Sixers fans, and we always get into conversations. And they were talking about Joel, and they said if he was coming in the league, he would dominate Shaq. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But for those of you guys on the audio section, apparently Manzano's talking about his friends believing that Joel would dominate Shaquille O'Neal, Mutombo, and Yao Ming. And I just gotta say, no. Like, my laughter is just... that's an absolutely egregious take. And that sounds like the most 76ers fan kind of take in the entire world. Like... That's a bold statement. I will give it that. But honestly, like, this, no. Shaq is going to abuse Joel Embiid like a rag doll, and Joel Embiid is he's gonna try flopping, and he's gonna do all of this stuff. Shaq is just gonna be like, barbecue chicken alert, every single time in the paint. It's like, no, that's not happening. They're ridiculous. That take is ridiculous. That take should be discarded. And you should tell them that. Like, they're absolutely ridiculous for even thinking that. Now, back on the Wemby hype train, I honestly feel like, this hype train is only going to get better because Victor captivates a lot of fans. He's literally like a my player if you guys play 2K. And everybody likes watching... It depends on how overpowered something is. Because, like, the Warriors, nobody liked watching them because they were just absolutely ridiculous. And nobody liked them. But aside from that, they were a solid team to watch. It's really interesting watching overpowered systems and things that make the game look like a game within the game, if that makes sense. Now, the next bold take is that the Pelicans are going to be a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. Now, I do somewhat see this happening. This wasn't my bold take, but I do see it happening, and I'll explain why. So, the standings included the Timberwolves, the Clippers, and the Phoenix Suns in these top standings. Now, the way I see this, at least 2 teams that aren't the Thunder, Nuggets, or the Timberwolves. Actually, no. At least 2 teams in the top 5 aren't going to make it into the top 5 this season. Now, I don't think the Timberwolves are going to have the same success as they did last season. I don't think they're going to be the 3rd seed. And I don't think the Clippers are even going to make the playoffs. Assuming that Kawhi Leonard doesn't... I don't know when Kawhi Leonard is going to come back, but I do expect the Clippers to bottom out without Kawhi Leonard. And because of that, that leaves 2 playoff spots wide open for the Western Conference. And I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies are going to take one of those spots. And the Pelicans, they do have a shot of taking that spot as well. And they could be a top 4 team. I don't really disagree with this take. However, I also see the Pelicans being able to move up in the standings as well. And as opposed to... No, I do expect the Kings to be able to move up in the standings as opposed to the Pelicans moving up in the standings. So I feel like that should be food for thought for any of you guys who are interested. And that's all that I have for this second segment. So now we're going to go ahead, and those are all the bold takes. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the we're going to go into the third segment where I talk about the finals odds for the season today and the teams that are going to have the best odds. So,
looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube. Absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm sorry for that longer than usual wait. I was having some technical difficulties with my streaming service, and it literally logged me out. For whatever reason, it does not make any sense why it logged me out, because I was using it. So why was I logged out when I was using the streaming service? It does not make any sense, but it's whatever. I'm back, thank the Lord, and let's go ahead and continue. So now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the finals odds and exactly which teams are the favorites to make it in the finals, right? So let's go right ahead. Let me go ahead and pull up the odds and see exactly which team is the favorites and winning the whole thing. So let's go ahead. Now, the start of the season, right? It's officially going to start, and obviously, who's going to win the championship? That's the big question that a lot of people are going to place bets on rather early in the season. Because if you place them earlier, before anything even happens, like, the chances of you making money end up, they increase, because it was a bet that was placed so much earlier. And so hold on just 1 second as I email this teacher something very important. All right, there we go. All right, now let's go ahead and continue. I apologize for that delay. Now, the Celtics, obviously, they're currently the betting odd favorites as they lock in a chance to repeat in the Eastern Conference. And despite the fact that the Knicks and the 76ers are loaded with talent, their path is, obviously their path is going to be much more difficult, but they're the clear-cut favorites for the Eastern Conference. So I don't really need to talk about the Eastern Conference all that much. But the Western Conference is much more of a hassle, because it's like there's so many teams that could end up making it, and there's so many teams that could prevail and end up winning in the finals, and it's really just like a huge problem. Now, the Thunder, they're actually, according to FanDuel here, they're the favorites in winning the entire Western Conference. They have a plus 650 percent chance. Well, not a percentage chance, honestly, but they have a plus 650 odds in making it all the way to the finals. So if you are doing a bet, then, and if you really want to secure that bet, the Thunder, according to the betting odds, they do have the best chance. Now, I just don't see that happening. I feel like they just need a little bit more experience under their belt. And, hold on just 1 second. All right, so now the obviously, like, the reason why the Thunder are heavy favorites in the making the finals is because SGA is also a heavy favorite to win the MVP. But again, I don't really feel like the team, like, while I do understand that it is a solid team and they're probably the best team in the Western Conference, I think their lack of postseason experience is going to be the downfall for them, because there are so many other teams that are incredibly solid, but they also have more experience in the postseason. So the fact that the Nuggets, not the Nuggets, excuse me, the fact that the Thunder, they already made the postseason last year, and they won a series. They won a series against the play-in team. And I'm sorry to say this, but it's like, that's not enough experience in the postseason to learn how to handle that kind of pressure. The only person on the team that can actually handle that pressure is SGA, who legitimately outplayed Luka Doncic throughout the entirety of the series. But everybody else was a major problem in that series. Chet was like nowhere to be found in that series. And I really don't, I don't know exactly, like, I can't really pinpoint exactly where or, like, what could go wrong, if that makes sense. But again, it's really, 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 like, it's something that's just, it's something that's an experience problem. It's an experience thing, and I don't really expect a team that doesn't have that much experience to prevail as a team like the Denver Nuggets. Now, according to BetMGM, the Denver Nuggets, they have a plus 1,100 chance of making it to the NBA Finals. And I think it's a little bit premature completely writing the Nuggets off like this. They did lose KCP in the offseason as one of their best three-point shooters. However, they do think that Christian Braun is a solid, impactful player. Not to mention the acquisition of Russell Westbrook. Now, I don't think that Russell Westbrook is going to be like a huge game changer, but still, they are a very the team as a whole. When you have Jokic on the team, I really think that anything can be possible. And they were close to making it to the Western Conference Finals until they ended up blowing it at the very end. And I don't know. I don't think that I just don't really see the Thunder being able to prevail over a team like the Denver Nuggets. But that's just me. Now, next team on this list, the Milwaukee Bucks. They have a 1,600 betting odds to to end up making it all the way to the finals. And while I do trust in Giannis Antetokounmpo, it has been since 2021 since they made the finals. And I will say that injuries have been a little bit of a problem. Not to mention this new coaching staff is also most likely going to be a little bit of a problem. So I can't really put my finger on whether or not I trust the Milwaukee Bucks or whether I don't. Like, I really have faith in Giannis, and I really think that Giannis is a fantastic player. Aside from Jokic, he's the best player in the entire NBA. And it's really, really difficult not picking him to prevail in the Eastern Conference. It's just now the Eastern Conference is so top heavy, and the team has been throughout every single postseason. They've really had to deal with injuries, and not entirely sure how well Dame is going to produce with the Bucks this season. So it still remains to be seen. But that's all that I really have for this third segment. So now we're going to go ahead and go into this fourth segment, talking about Bronny and his chances of winning Rookie of the Year according to these betting sites. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that right after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, we are going to be talking about Bronny James and the possibilities of him winning Rookie of the Year. It's a long shot, I'm well aware of that, but according to this article from ESPN, there are some people who are faithful that he could be a dark horse candidate to win the Rookie of the Year, which again, I think is rather shocking. Now, he literally just came off of his career high 17-point game, and now they're already like, oh, he could be it. And I'm just like, really? Like, one game and that immediately decides, okay, he's not going to be a bust? I don't think so. And it's like, let's go ahead. Now, surprising betting interest on Los Angeles Lakers rookie Bronny began before the NBA draft, and it's continued into the regular season, even surpassing the action of his dad, LeBron. So more bets have been placed on Bronny to win Rookie of the Year than any other player at multiple major U.S. sports books. FanDuel reported Tuesday that 20% of the money that had been bet on its odds to win Rookie of the Year was on Bronny, and the most of any player. So his odds to win the award range from 250 to 1 to as long as 250 to 1 or as long as 1,000 to 1 in sports books. So Zach Edey, he is another player that enters into the season as the consensus betting favorite to win Rookie of the Year ahead of the Houston Rockets guard Reed Sheppard. So Reed Sheppard and Zach Edey right now are my two favorites and those two players that I feel like have the best chances of winning Rookie of the Year. Now, James has also attracted more Rookie of the Year bets than Edey and Sheppard combined in FanDuel, which is incredible. Now, a big reason why I believe that some people are placing these bets on Bronny is because since the odds of him winning are so low, there's a good chance that the turnout, like the payout, will end up being a lot of money because nobody really expects Bronny to develop into a Rookie of the Year caliber player over specific favorites such as Reed Sheppard and Zach Edey, who have already shown significant NBA skill at this level of their career. So with that's I feel like that's a big reason as to why these a lot of these gamblers are placing their bets on Bronny just so that the payout can be incredibly huge. But again, I don't really see that happening. Again, Bronny, he only came off of last season. Not last season. He only came up of last Friday, where he ended up scoring 17 points. I don't think that one performance is the end-all, be-all, and that he's going to end up being consistent in the regular season, because we have yet to see consistency from him. Now, at BetMGM, there were seven times more bets on Bronny to win Rookie of the Year than there were on LeBron James to winning the MVP. And LeBron is around the 150 to 1 in order to win the regular season MVP. If you look at right now the odds according to ESPN Bet, Luka Doncic is the favorite to win the MVP for this year. And Zach Edey is also the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Meanwhile, Victor is expected to win Defensive Player and Most Improved. So, with Luka in the betting favor to win his MVP at plus 375, close to SGA's favorite, 400, and Nikola Jokic, 460. San Antonio Spurs is also expected to win. Victor is just expected to have one of the better years of his entire career. And a lot of people sort of expect the improvement to keep going, you know? Now, the Lakers, they opened their season on Tuesday. They opened their season today and against the Timberwolves with J.J. Redick. And when J.J. Redick was asked on Monday by reporters, he was non-committal on whether or not Bronny and LeBron are going to play together in the opener. So I have no idea how exactly the rotation is going to work with LeBron and Bronny. I have no idea whether or not they're actually going to share the court. But FanDuel is offering 250 odds on Bronny's first NBA basket to come off of an assist from LeBron, which is pretty interesting to really think about. So those are the bets that I think you guys should place. Imagine if Bronny's first NBA basket is off of an assist from his father. That would be very interesting. But again, in terms of the betting odds themselves and whether or not you should bet on Bronny to win Rookie of the Year, I don't really think so. Like, maybe you can place, like, a tiny $5 bet on that outcome, but I really don't think that he should be considered a favorite. I don't think so at all. And I have a feeling that Reed Sheppard, with the team that he has, is going to end up producing enough. And I also think that Zach Edey is going to, with Ja Morant attracting so much attention under the basket, I don't really see teams like or any other rookie that is going to be able to have that much of a chance to win Rookie of the Year over those two favorites. But that's just me. Now, there's obviously, like, the wild chance that Bronny just out of nowhere performs out of his mind and ends up being a clear-cut favorite. Because the way I see it, if Bronny plays good, even for like a small stretch, a lot of people and a lot of fans are going to gravitate towards him. Like, that's just the kind of attention that I'm just scratching my foot, excuse me. That's just the kind of attention that a lot of these that Bronny tends to get. He's definitely, by far, the most popular second-round pick in the entire history of NBA basketball. When they're drafted, obviously, second-round picks, they can end up being popular as their career progresses. But on draft night, like the second they get drafted, they're usually never popular. But Bronny is by far the most popular low pick in NBA draft history. So, because of this is going to this could affect a lot of fans and the votings, and not necessarily, like, this could affect the impact of his game, if that makes sense. So it's like, how should I say this? Remember when House of Highlights, LaMelo Ball, he was killing it in his rookie year, right? Absolutely killing it, yes. But there would be certain plays that would just get repeated there were certain plays from LaMelo, and it seems like, his play was a little bit over-exaggerated, if that makes sense. Like, you don't normally see any LaMelo highlights anymore. But because he was a rookie and because he was like the talk of the town, everybody was talking about him. So it's a similar sense with Bronny, where it's like, since he's like the talk of the town, everybody is going to be talking about him, especially when he plays good. And that's going to end up boosting him in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Because there's going to be more eyes on him than there are going to be eyes on Reed Sheppard and Zach Edey if Bronny is playing good. It's a similar thing to Victor Wembanyama. All eyes were on Victor, and everybody knew that Victor was going to be that guy to win the Rookie of the Year, as opposed to Chet, who was getting, he was getting some attention, but in the end, it wasn't all that much. So, really, that's my expectations. Like, if there's any wild chance that he ends up winning Rookie of the Year, that would be the reason why. But that's all that I really have to say in this fourth segment. So now we're going to go ahead and go into this fifth segment where I go over some contracts that were recently signed before the deadline. So I'll be right back after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned. And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, we are going to be looking at the NBA contracts that were recently signed for, let me just go ahead and just make sure. Like, there was, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up this list, but there were, like, I want to say about 5 different players that ended up signing big contracts. Maybe at least 3. So, like, I'm just going to go ahead and go over those players right here. Now, let's go ahead. So, the first big contract that I remember seeing, Sengun ended up signing a 5-year, 185 million rookie scale extension for the Houston Rockets, according to NBA insider Bobby Marks of ESPN. Now, the deal also includes a player option for a 5th year and locks up one of the league's most intriguing young centers in Sengun. And he was only 22, and he just had his breakout season in 2023-2024, and he put up 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, along with 1.2 steals while shooting 54%. He was a finalist for Most Improved Player until he ended up getting injured. And he's a big man who can do a little bit of everything, whether it's scoring in the paint, facilitating the offense, or even locking down opponents on defense. And there was obviously some question on whether or not the Rockets could move on from him or wait, or consider that they had held on to some cap flexibility for 2025, with Sengun's cap holding at $16.3 million. Delaying a new deal would have given them more room to sort of maneuver. Now, Sengun made it clear that he wanted to get a deal done, and Houston wasn't going to risk letting their rising star's price tag increase any further with another big season that's expected to be on the horizon. Now, along with Sengun, Jalen Green ended up signing a 3-year, $105 million extension. The Rockets are showing that they're committed to building around their young core, and it also suggests that Houston's front office isn't concerned about playing under the cap next summer. So instead, they're focused on developing the roster built to grow together, with Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Reed Shepherd all under contract through at least 2027. And in the span of 24 hours, Sengun became the latest NBA player to secure a rookie scale extension, along with other players like Jalen Johnson and Jalen Suggs. So more on those players in a little bit later. Corey Crispit agreed to a 4-year, $54 million contract extension with the Wizards. And let's see, the Washington announced the move without not on specifics in a press release as well. So Corey is someone who positively impacts their environment daily. He consistently shows up for the organization as both a player and a teammate, embodying the passion and professionalism they value. And he said in a statement that we are, the GM said in a statement that we are, let me just go ahead and look at it. We are excited that he has the opportunity to continue his growth and development in Washington. He's a relentless worker who has added to his game each season. We look forward to his further evolution in the coming years. Now, again, as I said, I was going to mention Jalen Johnson and Jalen Suggs. So the Magic, they extended Jalen Suggs to a 5-year, $150.5 million contract. And this deal was negotiated after holding a series of meetings in Orlando to finalize terms ahead of Monday's 6 p.m. Extension deadline. Now, Orlando announced the extension on Monday afternoon, but did not disclose their terms. So Suggs had his breakout season in his 3rd year, helping Orlando rank 3rd in defensive efficiency last season, and he became just the 3rd Magic player to make an NBA All-Defensive team, joining Dwight Howard and Horace Grant. And he's also improving on his three-point shooting, shooting nearly 40% from 3, on average of 5 attempts, along with 12 points and 1 steal in 27 minutes. Now, another player that I mentioned before, Jalen Johnson, he also agreed to a $150 million contract extension with the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. How are these role players getting so much money? And I don't know. That's all I really have. Like, I don't really know why all these role players are getting all of these massive paychecks. I think this is just a crazy conspiracy. Not really this is my conspiracies. This is my thought process and why I think all of these players are getting as much money as they are. All of these role players. Now, I think this is secretly to mess with the Boston Celtics. Now, what do I mean by that? You notice how every single team that has signed these big role players, they're in the Eastern Conference, right? Aside from Sengun, who I genuinely think deserves that contract, the rest of these players are a little bit questionable on whether or not I think they should be making that much money, right? Now, the reason why I think that teams are signing them to this much, aside from the fact that they are expecting a lot of potential coming out of these players, is that the Celtics are going to be well above the second apron. So they're going to have to pay a lot of luxury tax for that. Not to mention the rest of the players on their roster. If they want to keep players like Derek White, if they want to keep Drew Holiday, if they want to keep Kristaps, all of those players are going to want to have more money. And they're going to want to be making way more than somebody like Jalen Johnson or Jalen Suggs. I can guarantee you that Derek White isn't going to stand for getting paid the same amount of money as Jalen Johnson, because I would imagine that he feels like he's more valuable and he's better than Jalen Johnson. Same with Drew Holiday, same with Kristaps Porzingis, meaning that the Boston Celtics are going to have to pay a boatload of cash if they want them to stay. And that would mean that they'd have to force themselves to playing under the second apron rules, which is something that a lot of executives and owners of franchises don't want to do. So the big problem and the big, how do I say this? The expectation is that they have to make a choice. The Celtics would have to make a choice on either getting rid of the lineup and rebuilding again, like with different players, or possibly forcing their hands and re-signing all of those players again, which is a very, very difficult decision to make. And I feel like these contracts only put the pressure on them all that much more. And that's just a theory that I have. That's just a random theory that I have with why these players are making this much money. But that's all that I really have to say, because we are running out of time. Thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. And as usual, please remember to use the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment, gsmcpodcast.net, or you could always use Super Chat. Either or helps, and either or it's guaranteed to have your comment featured on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't